It is Wednesday, August 21st. I took a long nap, ate some scone with my husband, and I'm feeling a bit more lively. I am dedicating this vlog to my book haul, which I have been really looking forward to do. I don't buy many books, and I don't buy books regularly, so this is also very much a treat for me. I have added 9 books to my collection. The first one being The Divine Comedy, and this is the Alan Mandelbaum translation. I originally borrowed this exact book from the library, and after diving into a few pages of it, I immediately fell in love. I spent some time researching other translators just in case there were others I might fall in love with more. And one other translator did come close. He's, I believe, one of the OG translators of the Divine Comedy, and his name is John Cicero, I believe. And only because the edition of his translation was in this beautiful blue faux leather design. I thought it was so gorgeous. I saw it on Pango Books. It's where I bought this book, and where I buy a lot of my books generally. I buy a lot of my books actually from eBay and Pango Books, and then sometimes thrift books. And if not online, wherever I can hunt a Goodwill, I'll go and buy books there as well. Because Goodwill has a surprising collection of awesome used books, and also generally, I just love the vibe of used books. I think they have so much character to them, and I love that. But anyways, back to The Divine Comedy. So I was looking at the John Cicero translation, and I loved how he explained his process for translating, but when I got to the actual translation, the work, he seems to really over-explain himself in the translation, and while I think that can be great in an academic setting, I'm reading this for enjoyment, and I would rather not have it be so over-explained. I would rather have more mystery to it, that I can piece my own version of it in my head for myself. This version, the Everyman's Library version, was a surprising pick for me because I usually don't go for their selection or their version of translated works. I find, at least with Russian literature, I have found them to be like overly simplistically done, which can be nice if you're going for ease of reading, but having compared other translators, I do genuinely like how Alan Mandelbaum reads, and he does have that poetic quality that I'm looking for in translators. I'm so excited for when the time comes for me to read this book, because I have plans to really dive deep and perhaps annotate. I made a video about my annotating system, so check that out if you're interested. It is a no book markup annotating system. On to book number 2. I purchased a copy of Goethe's Faust. This one, translated by Walter Kaufmann, I also borrowed from the library, and I read that in a day, and I absolutely loved it. It's something I wanted to reread and study. I just loved it so much my first go around. And I wanted a bit more of an aesthetic copy, so I actually found this on Amazon. It was a used bookseller's shop on Amazon. So I think this cover is so beautiful, and it's just in such a good condition. So I'm really excited about this for my second round of reading, because I also have plans to go deep with this one. Number 3, A Serendipitous Error by Ivan Gontarov. It's a thin one, but I love Gontarov, and I remember last year I wanted all of his books that I could obtain. The Frigate Pallada is one I'm really looking forward to, but that one I believe will be published in the UK by this publisher, Alma Classics, in December of this year, and I think in the US it will be released in March of next year. This is a novella. It is very short, and I'm very curious to see how Goncharov writes in short form. I've talked about Goncharov so much in my videos. I absolutely love him as an author, and I love his style. So book number 4, I got The Same Old Story by him as well. I am telling you, I'm trying to collect all of Goncharov's works that I can get my hands on. But also, I do particularly enjoy Stephen Pearl's translation of him as well. Stephen Pearl also translated A Serendipitous Error. Number 5, Septology, the complete collection by John Fosse. I'm not really sure if that's how you say his last name. I didn't know this, but he won the Nobel Prize for this in 2023. I've had my eye on this collection of books. There are actually 7 volumes total, and this is just the complete omnibus. I am so excited to dive into it. I couldn't even really tell you what this is really about. I just have heard so much about this book, and then when I read the first page, I was immediately pulled in, first few pages actually, because I saw the preview online on Google. But when I read it, I was like, oh man, this is so different. There's so much style, and I couldn't find a copy of it in my library, so I went ahead and purchased it on Amazon. This book was in running with another book that I was considering called Solenoid, but I read the first few pages of Solenoid, and I think that was the one that started off with lice. And anytime there's a book that starts off with lice or has critters or infestations of bugs or insects, I cannot stomach that. Or with roaches. I started Infinite Jest one year, and I got to the part with the roaches, and I was like, I just cannot continue reading this. I feel so sick to my stomach. So unfortunately, I dropped Solenoid from my list, but that made it very clear for me to go for Septology. And Septology won the Nobel Prize, so I believe Solenoid also won like an independent award, but it's still a pretty big award. I can't remember what it is. But book number 6, Don Quixote, translated by Edith Grossman. I have been wanting to read Don Quixote for so long, but I just couldn't find the right translation. And finally, I started seeing Edith Grossman's translation pop up in my searches. The algorithm was finally working in my favor, I guess. And I love how she writes. So I'm super excited for this. I found this one on eBay. And also, I just love how the text is set up in this book. So I'm very, very excited. Number 7, Read Like the Devil, The Essential Course in Reading the Marseille Tarot by Camelia Elias. I already read this book, the trilogy actually, on Hoopla, and I freaking loved it. It has completely changed my life. It was that monumental for me. Her way of teaching and her philosophy in clarity, oh my goodness. I'm too stunned to even speak. That's how amazing it is. Camelia Elias single-handedly taught me how to see the world with such preciseness. I mean, it's freaking magical. Which brings me to book number 8, Read Like the Devil, The Essential Course in Reading Playing Cards. This is volume 2 of the trilogy, and I mean, it is just so cool to learn how to read cards. And her main premise is always to point back the inquirer or the seeker to the question that's being asked. And instead of interpreting based on a set of values or meanings already given to you by a book or a teacher. She really teaches you how to construct definitions for yourself that are anchored to the question you are asking for ultimate precision in the answers that you seek. She teaches in such an incredible way. Beyond the card reading component, I mean, it is a lesson truly on seeing the world as it is and clarity. Finally, I'm so excited about this. I purchased Homer's Iliad and Odyssey. This is a big book. This is Barnes and Noble's old school way of doing these kinds of books, and I really like it. Look at the font too. It's like that old ink. The paper is so thick and it's amazing. It is luxurious to me. That I chose the version translated by Samuel Butler, who is one of the OG translators of Homer. And obviously I did a lot of research and I compared other translators, and I just like his voice. Butler's, I mean. Samuel Butler very much has that classic, old school, gentlemanly scholar's voice, and I dig that. I think his voice reads in a very polished and refined manner that's not overly stuffy and overly academic, aka pompous. So I'm so excited to get into this. I read the Iliad and the Odyssey when I was in school. I think it was like middle school or something like that. And I remembered I did enjoy it. So I wanted to revisit it in my adulthood and see what the effect is on me now, but also in light of writing my manuscript, which I want to be more in that style of epic poetry, though still prose. I thought this would be a great way to catch the right vibes for my manuscript. So there you have it, my 9-book haul. Let me know if any of these books are on your TBR. I am so excited for these books. Fall is going to be so amazing with reading, and I have such great plans for this coming season.